Well, good evening, everybody. We made it. And when you hear the list, you'll know why we were gone for a while. Since 6 p.m., the board has been in closed session for the discussion of the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, for performance or dismissal of specific employees of the district or legal counsel for the district, collective negotiating matters between the district and its employees or their representatives, student discipline cases, the placement of individual students in special education programs and other matters relating to individual students, the purchase or lease of real property for the use of the district, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired, and litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular district has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal. All that in a little over an hour. So I'll entertain a motion to come out of closed session.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second to come out of closed. All in favor?
Aye.
That wasn't very energetic.
Aye.
There you go. Any nays? Okay, we're in open session. Thank you. As always, welcome everybody. Our mission is to educate our students to be self-directed learners, collaborative workers, complex thinkers, quality producers, and community contributors. We'll start out tonight, as we often do, with public comment. And I have two slips. I'll start out in the order I got them. I have a Jason Paquette representing ATI Physical Therapy. If you can come on up. Yeah, right here. And if you hit the button, the second blue light will come on, the oblong button. And the oblong blue light will come on. And for the record, if you could start with your name and your address and then proceed with your remarks. Since you're representing a group, you can have 5 minutes.
Very well, thank you. My name is Jason Paquette. Our address, 790 Remington Boulevard in Bolingbrook, Illinois is our corporate address. I represent ATI Physical Therapy. I'm also here with Matt Noren, who represents ATI Physical Therapy, and he is also the current head athletic trainer at Naperville Central High School. We're here just to say a few words about the RFP for athletic training services. And our hope tonight is that simply the board considers all of the facts and considers all of their options before making a very important decision, on the services for the student athletes here at District 203. In reading the agenda for tonight, to our knowledge, the recommendation to you will be to change providers to Athletico in an effort to save the district money with a lower bid by $13,000. We have just a few points to make. First and foremost is the support that we've gathered over the last few weeks as the RFP process was going on from internal staff and coaches in support of the last 6 years of service that ATI has given to this district and to this community and certainly to the student athletes there. I'm going to allow Matt to speak just for a moment on that side of the support.
Yeah. My name is Matthew Noren. Like Jason said, I'm the head athletic trainer at Naperville Central High School. I've been there for 3 years. It's become to our attention that services could be up for us at this time. I just wanted to relay to you that hopefully you guys have had some emails coming in. I personally sent myself an email into you guys stating my motivation that I have to serve your community. I know that a lot of coaches have also written in at Naperville Central as well as Naperville North High School supporting us. The reason why I feel like they're supporting us is because they have the trust of myself as well as the trust of Bobby Stroud at Naperville North High School as far as us taking care of their kids and providing the best quality of care to them. The coaches don't necessarily care what the dollar sign is as much as they do as the services that we provide. I feel like we provide a very excellent service to them, and we have their confidence and trust in this matter. Again, it's all about the kids. It's all about giving them the best quality of care. I feel like I work harder than any other employee or company that could come into this scenario. I know it's not the most cost effective, but again, I feel like my services I provide you guys far exceeds anything else that anybody else can offer. And at that point, I hope you guys really do consider keeping the company that's been here for the last 6 years. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. And beyond that, we wanted you to know that we, by all means, we understand the need to be fiscally responsible, for the families here in this community. We feel that we have been, over the last 6 years, as it is a significant resource to provide 2 athletic trainers to this school. It costs us about $100,000 a year. And we did remain consistent with our price at a significant discount of $28,000. to previous years. So we feel it's a significant discount, but we do understand the need, and the desire to look at a lower bid. Okay, but wanted to make sure that you had all the options and all the facts as well. We wanted to make it clear that we did notify the district office as well as both athletic directors at the schools and let them know that if allowed, we would serve this community further and match that lower bid as your provider for 6 years. Beyond that, we just want to make sure you're considering all of your options. Currently at Naperville Central High School, Matt is the head athletic trainer, and your internal staff is stipend out for that assistant position. If you look at those numbers in your scale for the stipends, and according to this RFP, that role will switch, where you're now stipending out your head athletic trainer to the tune of a lot more money. And in fact, if you roll that out 1 to 2 to 3 years, you will not be saving $13,000. In fact, you will be losing some money. We do have those numbers written out if anybody would like to see them. It would be a change in that RFP, but we feel we've gained the support from your own internal staff of the role that Matt has taken as head athletic trainer this year. And they suggest the possibility of keeping that consistent. And again, fact of the matter is that would save you money in paying less in that assistant stipend position, because our price remains the same whether Matt is the assistant role or the head role. And so we want you to consider that fact. And so ultimately, in conclusion, I guess what we're asking is that when that recommendation comes up, you consider all the facts and the opinions of your own staff and either change the recommendation and vote for your consistent provider of ATI physical therapy, and if not, potentially table this from the agenda tonight for further discussion so that you can make an informed decision in the best interests of our athletes in this community as well as the finance of this community. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we have one more request. Representing the NUEA, Mr. Mark Bailey.
Good evening. My name is Mark Bailey. I'm the president of the Naperville Unit Education Association, and I'm here speaking on behalf of the association and also myself. And I'm just here to thank both Dave Weeks and Jim Dennison for their service over the last several years to the Board of Education and to the students of this district. I know at times it's been a tough decisions and some very easy ones to make. But I want to thank you two gentlemen for your time and all of the hours that you have spent on behalf of the children of District 203. So thank you.
That's the nicest thing I've been called since I came on.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, were there any other public comments? That's all the slips I have. Okay, so on to the consent agenda.
Yeah. I move approval of, on the consent agenda, I move approval of 5.01, 5.02, 5.04, 5.05, 5.06, and 5.07, leaving out 5.03, which is the RFP for the athletic training.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented, with the exception of 5.03, which is going to be pulled out and discussed separately. Roll call.
Yench,
Aye.
Price,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Weeks,
Aye.
Fielden,
Yes.
Bromberg,
Yes.
Crotty. Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, 5.03, RFP athletic training. Board comments?
I had a couple of questions. The first one was on the additional hours. We got accelerated at $25, ATI at $20, but Athletico's got TBD. Do we have any idea what that hourly rate might fall out at?
Can I ask Bob Ross to speak to that?
Thank you. We don't anticipate a great need for additional hours, but there certainly could be some. And their bid was that it would have to be mutually agreed upon. So the first answer to the question is not a dollar more than we'd agreed to.
So not a dollar more, but what's the upper end? Is the upper end going to be in line with what's in here in front of us, or is it going to be beyond that? That's really my question, and it just goes to contractual issues because I don't want it to exceed. Mutually agreed without some sort of cap on there, it could be a lot more than $25 an hour, and I just want to know what I'm agreeing to.
Sure, I understand. No, I don't believe it'd be more than $25 an hour. In fact, I don't believe it'd be more than $20 an hour.
Okay, that's fine. The other question I had was really on the semantics of the award here. It said that Athletico asked about the wording on the RFP for the winter season, and I see that they did not include winter in their proposal. They included on a semester basis, bidding both semesters. Did all the firms have access to the answer to that question, or was it just Athletico that got that answer, or did you issue like an addendum to the RFP?
There was no addendum. What happened was the RFP went out, and if I can read that section to you, Mr. Field, just short. RFP specification for the athletic calendar states, attend sporting practices and competitions during the athletic calendar, including preseason through postseason, not to exceed 30 hours per week or 600 hours per semester at each location. This is our wording. Exact hours and locations will be determined by each school's administration. Any modification is to be mutually agreed upon in writing. What happened is Athletico called the district office, spoke to Melanie Brown, the purchasing agent, to clarify that wording. She read that piece of the RFP to him, and as was stated in the recommendation memo, Athletico interpreted that specification literally and had quoted the fall semester and spring semester instead of 3 athletic seasons, what we refer to as fall season, winter season, and spring season. They had thought fall semesters, spring semesters. So what we wanted to make sure is that we had a full year price, and we do have that, and that's reflected in your documentation.
So you've got both the hours needed for both semesters is what
Yes,
you
sir.
wanted. Okay, thank you.
Were there any other questions or discussion?
I move approval of item 5.03 as submitted or presented.
Second.
I have a motion and second to approve 5.03, the RFP for athletic training as presented. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Dennison.
Yes.
Fielded.
Yes.
Pride. Yes. Price.
Yes.
Rumber.
Yes.
Yench.
Aye.
Weeks.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. That concludes the business for this meeting, and now we're on to recognition. And I don't know if it's good news, but we're. I didn't write that. I didn't. Good news. Good news. We got 2 people leaving. No.
It's a full house.
Just to let everybody know what we're just going to say goodbye to our departing board members right now. And Mark Bailey already led the way. And then we're going to adjourn this board, sine die, which is Latin for something that basically would dissolve our board. But and then we're going to have a short reception to say thank you to Jim and Dave, and then also to welcome our 2 new board members who will introduce to you back there, and also then we'll come back in here and vote in, give the oath of office to the re-elected and newly elected board members, and then we'll have our organizational meeting in which we elect board leadership, and then we'll discuss a couple little things like a budget. So right now, I'd like to lead it off by recognizing the contributions of 2 very important people. Let's pick this one up first, and I'll start it off and then open it up for comments from the rest of the board. This one is for Jim Dennison, board member elected in 2009. I could say personally, I've always greatly valued his counsel. I've always found him thoughtful, wise, considered, and more than anything, he has been one of my key connections to the community. If there was ever a person who really got this community and sensed the community as a whole, he was that guy. And I reached out to him many times and got his personal thoughts, but also his thoughts on what the community thought, and he was invaluable to me personally as that. And I think as that's also the role he played for the larger board. He was always a moderating voice, sometimes forceful, but always thoughtful, and I really am going to miss him. So I would open it up to anyone else that cares to make any comments before I turn it over to Jim. Jackie?
This will be short and sweet. Jim, I just wanted to thank you for stepping up, first of all, for co-chairing the OA referendum, which was so invaluable to our community as a whole and the health facilities referendum. And I know at the time you were not looking for something to do. But what was even more interesting, Alan Lease, our previous superintendent, worked very hard during that time, suggesting that you might enter the campaign for the Board of Education. I'm grateful he did that. I'm grateful you did that. You know the community well, and you've represented their interests very effectively. And thank you so much for your service. I'll miss you.
I will. Well, Jim, I didn't say this before, but I just wanted to thank you for serving on the committee when we had the facilities committee and all the extra meetings you went through over the summer when we had a little issue with the strike and so forth, going through that. But, yeah, did you? I didn't. But I think, it was nice to have both you and Susan there in the room so we could sit as a group and really slug through that. But more important, I appreciated your ability to debate the issues, both saliently and intelligently, and arrive at a good conclusion. And I think did that behind closed doors mostly, but it's a very good trait of a board member, and I think you served the community very well.
Well, I'll be more superficial. I think, first of all, you're the most dapper man on the board, so we're going to miss that. Your fashion influence will be missed as well. Your taste in shoes and shirts. Also, you are completely unflappable. I have never seen you. That's the things you pay attention to. You're also completely unflappable. Even when you would say, "I am very mad," you just never, nothing could rustle you up, get you angry. You never slapped your hand, yelled, raised your voice. And that influence is also something, because, all the yelling and screaming that we usually do has been a wonderful influence as well. You are so personable, so warm, so easy to talk to, such a pleasant influence wherever you are. And we will miss you and your lovely spouse as well when we see her regularly places. So please extend that. She's been a wonderful partner for you and a great addition to the things we do. So thank you for being such a lovely member of the board and a wonderful influence on us.
And handsome. Susan.
Jim, I really, really want to thank you for all your time and energy, starting from the referendum to running for the board to all you've done. And, like Mike said, you were always a great pulse to take of a different market than kind of the rest of us had, and always appreciated that. And you made us laugh all the time, and I just really appreciated that evenness and that how we come to a decision and we'd feel good. No matter what it was a win-win with you, and I will miss you terribly. So.
If I could, on behalf of the administration, Jim, thank you so much for the support that you've given the administration, the understanding, the tough questions you've asked, and pushing us to make sure we're doing our work and we're prepared to answer the questions both that the community has and that you have as a Board of Education. Our relationship really began last year, and I think it speaks to a lot of the characteristics that people have talked about with you when you served on the Enrollment Capacity Study Committee. It was a very sensitive and trying committee at times. Your patience, your even temper, your even keel in terms of approach with the community, I think, was a great asset to the Board of Education. So I appreciate the friendship, the support, and everything that you've done to support me and this administration. So thank you, Jim.
Okay, before you get your chance at the mic, we have a little token for you, so if you can come up here. I think Susan's going to grab a quick picture so you can frame this and do all sorts of stuff. So here you go. I think we get something pretty nice. Well, thank you. Congratulations. Thanks, Mike. Get a quick picture. Thanks.
Dan has his name tag on, so nobody knows him.
Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah. But you still look dapper.
But Susan thinks you're dapper.
So anyway, Jim, you have the floor.
Thanks. I've got to read this because I don't want to. You got to turn it away from this. No, I'm going.
It's quick. It's only one page. Yeah, I know. It's the only way I can see it. I just want to say that I am honored and humbled to have had the opportunity to work with so many great people in this district. Our administration, the NUEA, NESPA, excuse me, NUMA, our teachers, who are the very best, our students, and our parents. You guys are the ones that make this such a great place for our kids to become educated and be prepared for the rest of their lives. Next, I'd like to welcome Donna and Kristen to the board. Congratulations on your election. Great job. You're going to do great things. Finally, I'm going to get choked up with this. I'd like to say a heartfelt thank you to the 6 people sitting around this table who make up this Board of Education. Thank you for your guidance, for your patience with me, for your wisdom, and most of all, for your friendship and the selfless giving of your time. I consider myself incredibly fortunate to have been able to work with you great people for these 4 years. I wish you all the best. Thanks.
Okay. There's an old Chinese proverb, and actually it's sometimes called the Chinese curse, that says, may you live in interesting times. And the one thing I can say about Dave Weeks is he always made the meetings interesting. But I have to say, the things I always appreciated about him were his commitment to this district, the education of our youth, fiscal responsibility, but also his honesty and his directness. There was never any doubt where he was coming from. And, you know, I say that in total honesty, that is so important, and I hope the new board members get that too. It is so important that we have a variety of opinions, that everybody share their opinions, because that makes us stronger as a board. I think that is one of the things why we've been able to do good work, and I applaud him for that, and I appreciate that, because it's been a very valuable part of this board, because the last thing you want is a rubber stamp board. You need someone constantly pushing you, questioning things, and he did that very well, and I mean that in total honesty. So thank you. I appreciate it. It was an honor serving with you, and wish you all the best. So open it up to the rest of the board.
I prepared some comments too. In the spirit of the end of the coming school year and the graduations and transitions of our students, Dave and Jim are transitioning, and Dave in his 4 years of service on the Board of Education, to other roles in his life: husband, dad, grandpa, son, employer, financial advisor, friend, and community leader. He is leaving us to go out into the world, and as a body, we thank them for their service and wish them well. I'd like to offer some advice to Dave, having watched him these 4 years, that will help him succeed in his current and new roles. Don't be afraid to say what you think, Dave. Don't be so shy and retiring. Put it out there. Say what's on your mind. Don't be so serious. You have a lively sense of humor. Let it out there for people to enjoy. Finally, you should try coffee. You might like it. Also, with the time you have to spend reading, you don't have to spend reading board packets, try golf. You might like that too. In all seriousness, I have found that although we are probably on different ends of a few spectrums, Dave and I agree more often than either of us. That surprised both of us. But whether we agree or disagree or would word things differently, I have found to Dave to be thoughtful and engaged and committed to his work on the board. As Mike said, he believes in community and education, and he spends his time working towards making those better. Thank you for your service and time and commitment. I, for one, learned a lot from you and appreciate the opportunity to understand your perspective and experience. I look forward to seeing you in Starbucks in Ogden, and will definitely want to hear your opinion, as I'm sure I will. Thank you.
Dave, as 7 board members, we attempt to represent the community, and I think you did that, and I'm really pleased to be able to work with you. We have to represent all different people and viewpoints. We respected our differences while serving the best interests of the community. And I want to thank you for your commitment. You're always being prepared for board meetings. I was very appreciative of that. And thank you for your 4 years of service.
You know, Dave, when you were first elected, Dave, I thought to myself, here's someone who doesn't have to step up and serve, but decided to step up and serve. And I think it was impressive that at the time that you won and that you elected to do that. But I also wanted to comment, I do believe you're committed to education, in particular at the K-5 level. I think that's one of something that's pretty near and dear to your heart. And I think you did speak very eloquently when it came to those issues, especially when it came to reading and making sure that the kids at the poverty level have what they need in order to succeed in life. And I don't think any of us should lose sight of that, because I believe that was heartfelt and something you strongly believed in. And I appreciate your time and speaking up for that, to defending those who can't.
Dave, I really want to thank you for stepping up to be on the board. I know that it takes a lot of time and energy, and we all know that. And thank you for being one of us and making us who we are. But more than that, thank you for pointing out things I couldn't see myself sometimes. And you showed me things in a different way. I felt like if you've ever gone to the museum and you get the headphones and you look at the pictures, you see something totally different. And you helped me see different things than I would have seen without you. So thank you so much for your time and your talent on our board.
Just again, once again, Dave, on behalf of the administration, thank you so much for your support and for the time that you've dedicated to the kids and the teachers in this school district. Personally, what I'd like to thank you for is, I think, something that I've heard as a theme throughout. My time as superintendent, and even at times last year, you would come to me, you'd ask me the questions, the hard questions and the tough questions I may not always wanted to have asked, because they were difficult questions, but you asked them. And the lesson that I'll take away from that, and that I know the entire administration team does when we prepare for board meetings, are what are those tough questions that are there that we need to be prepared to answer. It doesn't have to be a question that they're going to like, but it has to be, we have to have an answer and have to be prepared to stand behind that answer. So you've challenged me and you challenged us in a very positive way that I think will serve this district in a positive way for a long time. So thank you very much, Dave.
Okay. Come on up here for a second.
Can I hold up a picture of my grandson?
Sure, you can.
Because Ann keeps thinking she's got the cutest grandkid here. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Or the mic.
I don't have anything to say.
Imagine that. circle the calendar.
I wonder if the press could quote that accurately.
You know, I've lived here a long time. Went to school here. My kids have gone to school here. And I knew before I came on this body how outstanding District 203 is. But I thought I knew that. But boy, interacting with the teachers and the principals and everybody that participates in this district was just mind-blowing. I mean, like I said, I thought that I knew how good everything was, but you know, everyone I've had the pleasure and privilege of working with is just you're superlative. Whatever your job is, you just do it really well. And you know, I spent the first 6 months. I spent an awful lot of time in your offices. Some of you've turned over, maybe because of that. But seriously, I always felt the door open, and I always felt welcome to ask those questions that were bothering me. I think I tried to, in return, let you know where I was coming from. I tried not to play a gotcha game. And I just want there to be no doubt at all of how much I admire you. I think of Nancy Voice. She started at Jefferson when I started on the board, and I mean, she just blew me away with some of the stuff she was doing at Jefferson, and that just repeated Pat Gaskin, and just over and over and over. Just fantastic. The board. Anyone that's paid any attention knows that I have some different ideas of how the board should function than my colleagues, and still do. And that was really why I didn't run again, because I felt like I'd hammered away for 4 years, and things were still the same, and I didn't think that you deserved me continuing to hammer away. But what I want to make clear, and to you folk, and especially the public too, that I don't question the commitment of any of these people. And someone said variety is, and it is true, and I think from the very first time we had a retreat, I don't know, I still remember saying, boy, what a variety of people and thoughts are on the board. And I think that is really healthy. Most people have no clue how much time these people put in. If you want to see happy, my wife's over there. She is so happy. But I mean that. Thank you all. And Godspeed.
Well, as I said, we're going to have a very brief reception in the back in room D, so people who aren't familiar, just take a left and keep on going until you run into a wall. And back there, we're also going to introduce the newly elected board members, and it's also a chance to say goodbye to Dave and Jim and whoever's there with them. So at this point, I'm going to request a motion to adjourn sine die. My Latin accent is good. Yeah, we're killing off this board, and we're going to start with another board at 8:15. So if everyone would be back here in place that's interested, at 8:15, we're going to start with our new board and another 2 years of adventures. So a motion?
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to adjourn sine die. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned. Start on time. Okay, we'll get started if everybody's ready. I'd like to call to order the 20th Board of Education for the Naperville Community Unit School District 203. And on our agenda, where'd it go? Got to make sure I get to the right meeting here. First thing we'll do is review the canvases of votes from the April 9th, 2013 election. Did anybody have a speaking part for that? Do we? Everybody's here.
They know they're welcome.
Do you guys discuss
We
that?
really don't know. There's in the board docs, we have the canvass of votes from the April 9th, 2013 election. So the information is available for you in there. And any questions you have, we can respond to. But other than that, we have no additional comment.
So at this point, we are going to seat the re-elected and newly elected board members and give them the oath of office. They are Susan Crotty and Jackie Romberg re-elected, and as new members of the board, Kristen Fitzgerald and Donna Wanke. And I'd like to ask all of you to come up here, face the audience. And I love this. I was thinking about doing a John Roberts thing and trying to give the oath of office, but I probably mess it up like he did, so I'm just going to have them read it. What I think is fascinating is this is about twice as long as the oath for the President of the United States, but hey, that's the way we roll, so.
Is there one other person?
Is that enough? So, you want to step up there so everybody can see you? And then, if you guys, this is like a teamwork exercise with the nominating leader. You guys are going to start, and then you're going to read it together.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
I, Donna Fitzgerald, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of the member of the Board of Education of Naperville Unit 203 in accordance with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and the laws of the State of Illinois to the best of my ability. I further swear that I shall respect taxpayers' interests by serving as a faithful protector of the school district's assets. I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members and others who seek a hearing before the board, while respecting the privacy of students and employees. I shall recognize that a board member has no legal authority as an individual, and that decisions can be made only by a majority vote at a public board meeting. And I shall abide by majority decisions of the board while retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels.
Please stay close, move closer together, and hide the piece of paper. You're all good. Anybody else going to get a shot?
Any family members who'd like to step forward and get a better picture, please feel free to do so. Okay, good.
Oh, just like the kids. We do it for the kids all the time.
He's not, he's taking it, sees it.
Steve, you didn't get this last time.
Ed, I didn't see you. Hi, Ed.
Take your trash.
I don't know where to look.
Just straight ahead.
Not very happy.
I remember. Thank you.
Congratulations. Welcome.
Okay, now that we have a new board seated, I'll ask for a roll call.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Terry Fielden, Susan Price, Jackie Romberg, Mike Yench, Susan Crotty, Kristen Fitzgerald, and Donna Wonke.
Okay, now, for those who get into the intricacies of this things, I am actually serving the position of President Pro Tem, since we have not elected president for the next 2 years, and that is our next item on the agenda. The election of the president does not require a second. We just need a nomination. The nomination does not require a second, and then we'll have a voice vote. Unless there's only one nomination, then I'll direct the secretary to put in a unanimous consent for the president. So, as my last act as President Pro Tem, well, before the vote, I would like to nominate Jackie Romberg for the position of president of Naperville 203. Were there any other nominations? Well, then with no other nominations, I will direct Ms. Bell to enter Jackie Romberg as the new president by unanimous consent. I guess we can give her a round of applause, right? So at this point, Madam President, you have the chair.
Next thing on our agenda is to find a partner to work with. And item number 14 is the nomination for a vice president for School District 203. And I am looking for nominations. Susan Karate.
I would like to nominate Terry Fielden for Vice President of the Board of Education.
And do we have a second nomination? So we've made this simple. Ms. Bell? We're all good? Okay. Need to check in. Okay.
Does he get a round of applause?
Yes. Terry gets a round of applause.
And so nobody's confused, we're going to do a little musical chairs. Okay.
Oh, this feels so weird. We've been doing this a long time. So, anyhow, which brings me, Terry's going to have her purse. Terry just has a purse. Okay. Which, oh, Terry's had a purse. Okay. So the next thing is public comment. And I think most people, since we've kind of had two meetings, if you want to say something and you haven't filled out one of the forms that were right inside the desk, you're welcome to, or just let us know if there's somebody that would like to speak. I do have something I would like to say. Everyone knows I always have something I'd like to say. And my comments are going to be directed to our past president, Mike Yench. You have effectively led this board the past 4 years, and I want to thank you for your leadership. You offered counsel while always remaining open to all ideas. You have led by consensus, never by authority. You always realized you were one of 7 board members and ensured that we'd work together as a cohesive unit. Having worked very closely with you the last 4 years, I can assure my colleagues I have learned from an incredible public servant and an effective board president. Thank you for your leadership, and I hope to continue your good work.
Thank you.
So, if anyone else has anything to that, I don't think you do. We are moving on to a consent agenda, and I'd like to entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
I move approval of 16.01, appointment salary of secretary, and 16.02, appointment of treasurer, as presented.
Second. It
feels funny. It feels funny to do that, right? Okay, roll call.
You're next.
Call the vote.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should misspell.
Robert,
Yes.
Fielden,
Yes.
Fitzgerald, Price,
Yes.
Crotty,
Yes.
Yench,
Aye.
Wonky.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item, I'll turn over to our superintendent, Edward Hospital property tax refund.
Great. Board, I'll call to your attention a memorandum that's provided for you in board docs. I know that in news you have been following some of the work that has been going on in surrounding municipalities regarding relationships of taxing bodies and their hospitals. At your direction, we have waited until we were contacted by the DuPage County Treasurer's Office regarding an amount that would be due in an anticipated property tax refund to Edward Hospital. And so we have that information in my memorandum that you have in board docs, contains a summary of that. DuPage County Treasurer Gwen Henry contacted Mr. Zager on April 23rd, 2012, and Ms. Henry informed him that the amount that would be due to Edward Hospital is $2,234,107.90. And it's anticipated, according to Ms. Henry, that this amount would be withheld from the 2012 levy unless other arrangements would be made. This comes as a result of Public Act 97-0688, which was signed into law on June 14th, 2012, and you have some additional background information provided in the memorandum. I've had, and also Dave Zager, have had conversations with Edward Hospital, both Brian Davis, the Vice President of Marketing and Government Relations, and Sandy Benson, who's with us this evening. In our conversations, we expressed to Mr. Davis that this refund would have a significant impact on our school district and what we believe an impact on the Naperville taxpayers. Mr. Davis expressed the hospital's position that it believes it's entitled to the full refund, and he did indicate a willingness on behalf of the hospital to spread the payment over 3 years with no interest. And as I point out in the memorandum to you, I think there's just a couple of things that are important worth pointing out. That requiring the school district to repay property tax to Edward would suggest or imply that the school district received money that it was not entitled to receive. And that's not correct. The school district is entitled to receive its full levy. As a district, we depend on the county to be able to determine how that amount is levied. The school district has not received any more taxes than it is entitled to receive. In future years, as a result of the hospital's property tax exempt status, those taxes will come at the expense of other District 203 taxpayers. The refund itself of $2.235 million would be at the expense of our taxpayers also, since the amount is being withheld from what we've levied this year. So obviously, a significant impact that we have to prepare for. Dave Zager and I, as I said, have had conversations with the hospital, and Dave also with DuPage County Treasurer's Office. So that, with the information that I provided you, is all I have for you this evening. We'd be happy to entertain any conversation or questions that you may have.
Open it up. Somebody, Michael?
Well, I think the key points that Dan pointed out were, this is taxpayer money, and it's going to what is a well-run but also profitable institution. I thought it interesting in doing research that the amount that we're being asked to give them barely covers the CEO's salary for 1 year, which in 2011, according to Cranes, was $2.1 million. I don't know that that's the way the taxpayers of 203 expect their money to be spent. It is a big chunk of money, and I'm very disappointed that someone that we have such a close relationship with would basically, for lack of a better word, take the money from our kids, which is what it comes down to. Because the only way we can get it back is to raise taxes in the future and above what we would normally do. So I'm very disappointed where we are now, and I would hope there is a way out of this. And, I'm also looking forward to maybe getting some community input and seeing what the community thinks about this, since it is their money. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else?
Is there any way, how will we make up for this money in future budgets? Is there any way we can do that, or are we just going to be short going forward?
I'm going to ask Dave to go ahead and talk about that. There are some ways that this could be addressed.
As far as our budget is concerned, we have anticipated in this budget, so it is reflected in the budget that you'll be looking at. The district, of course, has been abating our bond and interest levy for the last 4 years, and that amounts to about $3.1 million. So it certainly would be at the pleasure of the board whether they would continue that abatement or not. And that would be the most obvious way as far as recovering that money directly.
I don't want to talk too far ahead, but if we don't do that, is there going to be an impact to any programs or anything else like that going forward, or can we stretch the recovery out a little bit longer? I mean, I would hate to go back and have to say that we're not continuing the abatement if there's any way we could continue to do that.
Well, you know how I do my projection, and everything that we do has an impact on that, so it's that much sooner. It's based on our financial projection. We always anticipate where we might end up having a point at which the district would have to start looking at programs or changes in its budget, and that will make it come that much sooner.
But the potential here is for a double impact. I mean, we got what Mike said, that we're short right out of the box, and then there's another potential that if we can't do the abatement in future years, there's really, which we've done in the past, there's a potential another hit to the taxpayers going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, is there a way when we pay it that we pay it under protest? Just to say we're really unhappy about this. We understand that your claim is legal. We understand that kind of how this all went down, but that we protest this.
We could certainly write a letter to the county, but we're not paying it. It's being withheld from the tax proceeds, the distribution that we receive. So that's about the limit of it.
So the county takes it off the top.
That's correct.
It's like garnishing our wages.
That's probably a fair analogy.
Comments? Questions? Oh.
Ms. Fitzgerald, if you push that, there you go.
One more time. There you go.
How have other communities been able to work out payment situations that are similar? I know that other hospitals are dealing with similar things in other school districts. How have they been able to work out these kinds of things?
Well, it's a similar vein. For example, at Valley View, they're paying it over a 3-year repayment schedule. Also Plainfield, which is associated with the Edward property tax as well, is doing it over a 3-year period. So that seems to be a common way it's going about.
Mr. Davis indicated the hospital's position that, as I said, they're entitled to the full refund. He did indicate a willingness on the hospital's behalf to spread the payment over 3 years with no interest. That still would potentially have to be worked out with the county treasurer's office on whether that would be acceptable to the county. because I think it would be their expectation that they'd withhold the full levy and that we'd have to work a separate arrangement with the hospital if that were to be the terms to which we would agree to.
I guess, I'm sorry, I guess I have two questions. One, I feel compelled to ask this question because it's been asked of a community member, and that is, and Dave, I don't know whether you have this information right now, but Edward was public at a point in time, then a private hospital, then a public hospital again. And what ramifications or what tax ramifications came up then? And secondly, and if you can address this, where have these meetings, who's met with the people at Edwards? Who on your staff and the Edwards staff? Who's been a part of these conversations thus far? Or meetings, face-to-face, or whatever the meetings have been?
Let's start with the first part, Dave, if you want to talk to the history as you understood it from your conversation with the county.
Yes. Edward Hospital was created as a taxing district in 1959. I believe it was the Edward Sanitarium District at that time by referendum in Naperville. And then it remained a tax-supported public hospital. In fact, I think it was one of the last hospitals in Illinois that had that status. In 1984, it was leased to a private not-for-profit corporation for the operations. So the operating tax ceased at that time. There were outstanding bonds for the taxing district, and from 1984 to 1994, property taxes paid towards those outstanding bonds, a total of $7.8 million in property taxes over that period. And then in 2000, the taxing district was dissolved and all assets were transferred to the Edward Hospital Not-for-Profit Corporation, which is as it exists right now. So it's not a public hospital right now, it's a private not-for-profit corporation.
Okay, and then in terms of meetings, Mr. Zager and I have both had conversations twice this year with Brian Davis, and Sandy Benson was involved with one of those. This goes back to 2007, Dave. So, can you speak to any meetings or anything that conversations that may have occurred between 2007 and now that you're aware of, or meetings? Or
only the conversations that we've had recently with Superintendent Bridges and all this year. So I haven't been party to any conversations prior to that.
But this for-profit public situation, this conversation that has been brought to my attention by a community member, that has been shared with Edwards. This isn't that situation.
For sure.
Okay.
And again, Edwards is a not-for-profit private corporation.
Right. And okay. So everyone understands, we as a body of 7 board members have to answer to the community. So that's why it seems kind of elongated some of the questions. I want to make absolutely certain I'm understanding it. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah. Can you talk about? Oh, I'm sorry. Can you talk about the exemptions? Any exemption was filed. What the exemption process was when they requested exemptions? Is that did they request those exemptions? Because one of your paragraphs. Once the bill became law, the Department of Revenue began reviewing and approving exemptions that had been filed prior to this legislation. So they requested exemptions. Can you talk about that process a little bit, or what we knew about those requests for exemptions?
I believe it was as early as 2007, and I'm kind of remembering from my notes as well. But for example, if the hospital were to do a subdivision of its property, or were they to do some major construction that might require subdivision, they would have to reapply for property tax exemption. So that would spur a reapplication for that. That happened in 2007. The district received a registered letter notifying us that the hospital was seeking tax-exempt status for their property. The Department of this goes through the DuPage Board of Review, and it's tendered to the Department of Revenue. The Department of Revenue would then make that ruling for the tax-exempt status. Typically, it's done in around 60 days. So the cycle should be done prior to property tax bills going out. What happened with this, because Provena Hospital had been denied tax-exempt status and they had started a legal action regarding that, the Department of Revenue put a lot of the tax-exempt requests for hospitals on hold. During this time, the court case wound itself through till it appeared in the Illinois Supreme Court. And in the Illinois Supreme Court, I believe it was in 2010, the Supreme Court ruled that the Department of Revenue was correct in denying tax-exempt status for Provena Hospital. They utilized that same logic in that ruling then to deny tax-exempt status for the other hospitals, Edward being one of those about that time. Now, there are appeal processes available after that first denial. Edward then went through that appeal process, so their exempt status was not finalized. And then in 2012, the legislature passed a law granting tax-exempt status to hospitals based on a different criteria than what was utilized in that Provena case. Part of the law also referenced that if there were any exemptions outstanding or that were in process, the new law would be applicable to those exemptions as well. And therein lies where we stand with this, because those exemptions dating back to 2007 were still under appeal and in process. The new law applied to those exemptions, and therefore the back years became tax exempt for the hospital as well, and any property taxes paid for those years would be due back to the hospital. Am I covering the
Right.
issue
No, you
to
are.
which
And
extent?
so we've had instances where for-profit or business has protested their property taxes, and what that means when we get notice of that protest of
Correct.
their assessment or their property is that we then or the assessor withholds that amount until that decision is made. So we know that process is underway or that protest is underway, so that we're not surprised by any large sum. Maybe their protest is granted and they don't have to pay as much as in property taxes. Then we're notified, and we know that that's on the horizon at least when that protest. But that kind of exemption, because of this process, it sounds like we wouldn't be aware that this was coming down the road.
No, what we would be aware of is that there was an exemption applied for. We would
Uh-huh.
not be aware of the status of the exemption or the payment or non-payment of property taxes for that particular property. If a business were to pay their taxes in protest because they filed with the county under PTAB or something of
Uh-huh.
that nature, that would be I think that's the kind of situation you're describing.
Right.
We would be notified of that, and we would have an opportunity to defend our levy relative to that situation.
Right.
But that's not the case here.
That's
This
not the
was
case here.
an exemption and appeal of that exemption.
Can I ask one more question? Because it looks like this bill was signed in 2012, but it started in the process. Were we aware that this bill was under consideration, had any notification so that we could go down and testify to the impact it would have, or any other taxing district? Were we aware of that bill at all? Notified of that?
I would believe, and I'd have to, if there was any conversations with the superintendent at that time, I wouldn't be aware of what those were. The amendment to the legislation that this was done to happened relatively quickly.
Uh-huh.
It was done in about a 2-day time frame. So as far as being aware of what the specifics are of the bill, I don't think anybody was. So the ability to look at what was being done and be able to register anything, it wasn't there.
Can I just one more thing, because I know that was an issue that there was some support given. I think there was a discussion about that, some support given by some of the taxing bodies for Edward to become nonprofit, but that's different than exemptions going back in time.
I think the support was relative to the tax exempt status, but I think
Moving forward.
Correct, and that's
Rather
the
than-
issue,
Right.
unfortunately.
Okay, sorry.
If I can just go back to, and I reference this in the memorandum, is that the legislation was introduced in February of 2012, indicates that it was intended to amend the State Finance Act, the Illinois Municipal Code, the Counties Code, the Flood Prevention District Act, Metropolitan Pier and Exposition Authority Act, the Local Mass Transit District Act, the Regional Transportation Authority Act, the Civic Center Code, Metro East Park and Recreation District Act, and Water Commission Act of 1985. Nothing in that description is an indicator to me, nor would it have been, that this was going to deal with anything regarding property tax exemptions on that.
Right. And one has to wonder why.
Because that's the way they roll. Yeah, I just want to make sure that everybody's clear on what the next steps are. I think I heard them all, but right now, if nothing changes, the county's going to hold back 2.3 something, $2.234 million.
Dave and I need to have that conversation now, I think, with the Treasurer's Office, just to ensure the process by which they understand it in terms of the withholding, or if they'll allow for alternate arrangements to be made. We haven't had that direct conversation with her regarding the withholding yet, so we'll do that, and then we'll have information for the Board of Education on the county. We'll continue to have conversation with Edward and Brian Davis regarding terms and their expectation, and have that report for the board in subsequent meetings.
And most importantly, since I just got my tax bill last week, it's too late to get any money out of that levy. If we were to look at recouping that money, it would have to be in our next levy that we would be looking at in about 10 months or even a little sooner, right?
A little sooner than that, right? But yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So you have the direction you need.
We do. Thank you.
Okay, our next item is the all-important item 17.02, the 2013-2014 budget presentation, and
I'll turn it over to Dave.
Hello, this is the first introduction of the budget. This is the tentative proposed budget for 2013-14. Prior to today, the budget was prepared by the district administration. The Citizen Finance Committee met on April 24th to review the budget. They will submit a letter of recommendation to the superintendent for the June 17th public hearing. Today, what we're looking for is a passage of the resolution on the agenda for action that places the tentative proposed budget in the public domain. We will post it online, and we'll have copies available at the libraries within Naperville. Then at the May 22nd and June 3rd meetings, the Board of Education may discuss the proposed budget. We can provide additional information as you request. Then on June 17th, we will have a public hearing so that anyone might give input regarding the proposed budget. The budget is scheduled for adoption at that meeting after the public hearing. However, the statute does allow us to pass the budget as late as September 30th, 2013. So should the board need additional time to look at the budget and consider it, that is certainly a possibility as well. The inside cover of the budget document has what's called the 2013-14 budget highlights, and I would direct your attention to that document. That gives a nice one-page summary of some of the numbers associated with the budget. The total budget's about $253 million. The operating budget is $243.7 million of that. We have a construction budget of about $6.4 million and debt service of $3.6 million. Property taxes are the major source of revenue for our budget. About 84% of our revenue comes from property taxes, 8% from the state, and a little under 3% from the federal government. The average taxpayer, and Mr. Jensch mentioned that the tax bills came out recently, should be seeing a 3% increase in the bill paid to the school district compared to last year, consistent with inflation, the CPI-U for 2011. The entire debt service levy on the $43 million referendum bond issue was abated for the 2012 tax levy, and again, we've done this 4 out of the 5 years that we've had that levy from the 2008 referendum. The budget is balanced. The operating budget is increased about 4.2% compared to last year. However, when one excludes one-time capital expenditures, it's about 3.2% increased. And as we all know, we're introducing all-day kindergarten program at 7 of our schools. If you exclude that, so I'm comparing like services to last year, it's about a 2.8% increase in the operating budget. I certainly have other things indicated on the highlights, and the document's got a lot of information in it. I invite the Board of Education to look at that. If you have any questions, feel free to call me. And as you have items that you believe would be pertinent for discussion of the board, we can certainly keep a list of those and have those on a subsequent agenda for the Board of Education. And again, this will be available for the public on our website, and also a hard copy document will be available at our office here and then at the libraries for the city as well.
Thank you, Dave. And just the nature and the importance of something as important as the budget, we will have the next couple of meetings to talk about it, and feel free, as Dave mentioned, to ask any of your questions. And the next item we come to is the budget hearing, which is set, as Dave mentioned, on June 17th. And I think there's a declaration. Do we physically read the declaration? Do we read it? Okay.
Sorry.
We
No,
don't-
you don't need to read it as
just
long as
vote
we
on it.
pass it. The resolution is presented.
Great. Okay, we need a motion? For the, we need a motion for the resolution?
Sure.
Oh, sure, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to compliment you, Dave, on all the hard work on the budget. I know how hard you work, and I also know this is your last budget that you're putting together for the district. And, I know that there's not just the work about putting together the numbers, it's the assumptions. It's all the research. It's looking at what might pass legislatively, as we well know will impact us. So I just wanted to compliment you on that and say how much I'm looking forward to working with you in this last couple of weeks, answering the questions and that kind of thing. And I hope that you're going to leave us a roadmap for how we can do this in the future.
Or how we can find you.
Right? I'm sure he won't do that.
He lives very close to me, so I'll be able to find him.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
So I move to approve the resolution of the budget presentation.
Second? Great. Ann?
Yench,
Aye.
Trice,
Yes.
Fitzgerald, Wonky,
Yes.
Fielden,
Yes.
Romberg,
Yes.
Crotty,
Yes. Oh, sure. Motion carries. Sure.
Oh, okay. Back on May 23rd, 2012, we will call it a tentative calendar for upcoming Board of Education meetings. Had been brought forward to the Board of Education and approved, but that was being held over now until the new board's being seated. So the calendar that was brought forward on May 23rd is in there, but there has been some discussion and suggestion about some change to the meeting, to what's there. So what you have in board docs is that May 23rd memorandum. But I know some of the feedback from the Board of Education was that December of 2012 became a very busy time with only one meeting and a lot that needed to get done during that time. So we'd be looking to add a second meeting during December. So that would be on December 2nd. And then also, following the template that had been in place for the 12-13 year, we had two meetings in August. One this year in 2012 was a presentation of goals by me as your interim superintendent, and then we had a business meeting on August 19th. So the question would be whether we needed to have a second meeting in August, or if we simply just wanted to have a work session and a business meeting. So that's for the board to decide.
Okay, Michael.
Just comment on the December meeting. I think we found the last couple of years that just when school is in session, things come up, and they come up every couple of weeks. And if we've had to call special meetings and stuff, and I'd rather have even if it's a short meeting, scheduled so we can take care of the stuff that does come up on a regular basis in December. And I think it's December 2nd is early enough in the month where it really shouldn't affect people's plans too much, and that's what we signed up for. The August meeting, as Dan alluded to, has been a carryover from superintendent reviews in 2011, superintendent preview in 2012, and since we are already tentatively planning a retreat this summer, I think that would pretty much take care of that, and it's obviously probably not going to be on a Monday night. So I agree with the 2 points he brought up. I would support a meeting on December 2nd and eliminating the August 5th, or whatever that would have been, a work session.
The work session in August. So let me just clarify. So we would be what's in board docs. We'd be adding a meeting. So we'd have a traditional work session on December 2nd. That would be added, and we would delete the first work session or the first meeting in August. Any other comments? And the other thing we need to talk about, and maybe Dan, we can ask Ann or someone to start the board retreat. Now that we have our seated board, to start the board retreat, which is no easy task to get 7 people, a superintendent, and maybe some of your staff all together.
That's right, that would be correct.
On a day. So, any other comments about deleting the August work session and adding the extra to go back to a traditional schedule for December?
I have a question. I like the December, adding the date, kind of a placeholder. If we're not going to do the superintendent review on August 5th, when would we do that?
That's what we're going to talk about. Oh, I'm sorry. When are we going to do an actual review?
Yeah.
Next time we're going to do that is May 22nd in closed session. And then one of the things that I was going to propose to you is that we schedule within closed session on our meetings periodically as required the report out and the review.
Like a quarterly reviews almost.
Correct, like quarterly. Right.
Okay.
So the next time is May 22nd, and part of that discussion will be to set a calendar for that.
Willing to give it a try.
Any other comments on those two additions? Have we made that? Hands, that's all clear. Okay. We need a motion?
Well, I move that we approve the tentative calendar with the two changes discussed, adding a meeting December 2nd and eliminating the August 5th meeting.
Second?
Yeah.
Crotty?
Yes.
Fitzgerald? Fielden?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Yench?
Aye.
Wonky?
Yes.
Romberg?
Yes. Now to the very short list of scheduled events. This is one of a couple of very exciting things are coming up. The Retirement Recognition Luncheon is this Friday, which is always wonderful, and something we all look forward to every year, and that's commencement at both high schools. Can't do better volunteer work than being able to give students their diplomas. It's awesome. And we have some school board members that will be giving their children diplomas. So I will be in charge at North for the Kleenex or tissues or whatever. Don't want to give anybody any extra credit. Have been through that, and it's incredible. Any other events that are lurking that aren't on the schedule that anybody can think of?
If you could just start to add the stuff for the back to school so we can start to get that on our calendar, that would be helpful at our next meeting, please.
Okay.
I would only call attention to the next Board of Education meeting to the community that due to the high school commencement on the 20th of May, our next Board of Education meeting will be on Wednesday, May 22nd.
Sounds good. And I
Mrs.
will...
Romberg, if I may, I'd like to remind everyone that Future Focus events will be held next week on the 15th and the 16th of May.
Can we get we love everything on this calendar, so can we add those? Is that, yeah. When in doubt, I think if everyone agrees, add it to this calendar. When in doubt, and Susan, Karate, I think it's a great idea if we can get those fall commitments on here, because it is May and August are pretty fast track. So, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Closed session.
I'm sorry?
Closed session.
Oh my goodness, I forgot that. Sorry about that. Wait, my computer just went to sleep. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, it had this reaction, went back to sleep. I will entertain a motion to go into closed session for purposes of collective bargaining matters between the district and employees or the representatives.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. And all in favor?
Nope.
Oh, no favor?
Roll call.
Oh, roll call. Oops.
Price?
Yes.
Romberg?
Yes.
Yench?
Aye.
Fielden?
Yes.
Fitzgerald? Wonky? Yes. Crotty?
Yes.
And then we'll come back into open again.
Just comment that we should take any action as a result.
Motion carries.
Yeah, we do. I'm sorry, just to clarify, we don't anticipate taking any action in regards to the closed session. It's just we don't meet again for another couple of weeks, and we didn't want to delay the start of this kind of long double meeting, and we wanted to start right at 7. So we're going to meet for a little bit, and we'll physically come back in here just to close our open meeting.